The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Current and Joseph Cristina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 218. I'm Joseph Cristina here with my co-host Trevor Current. How's it going, Trev?
Hey, doing well. How are you?
Good. Not too bad at all. It is the first day of July, right?
I know, the summer's ticking through already. Out of June already. Can't believe it.
Yeah. It's the 4th of July weekend, Independence Day. We're celebrating, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's right. So happy 4th of July. By the time this comes out, it very well may be the 4th or just slightly before. So
exactly.
hope you have a good, safe holiday.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Going to be hanging out with the kids, eating the watermelon and we're in Florida, man. So over here, it's basically kind of like playing on the face of the sun. Yep. So it's really, really hot, guys, all the time. I mean, even this holiday season, I remember going out and picking up a Christmas tree when it was raining and like 80 degrees last year. Yeah, it's like this, like just all the time. We haven't had a really cold snap in a long time. I remember when I was a kid, I'm dating myself. It was like right around, I think 1975, 76, right around there. I think it was like the bicentennial year, actually.
Okay.
And it actually snowed down here. Just a little bit, a couple of flakes. I remember seeing it, but it used to get cold. So I don't know about this global warming thing, but I know it is just not as cold as it used to be when I was a kid. And that's not just because I was little, but actual temperature. I mean, we never heard of snow down here ever again after that time. So
I know.
But yeah, it's simply hot. So anyways, getting into the show today, Hasselblad that we talked about, that X1D that we spoke about, and we dropped the news. It was literally hours after we got press release on it. It just blew up, right? Everyone and their mother is talking about this. Every show is talking about this. Everyone is talking about it now. And the idea of medium format. And we were talking about it, and I said, this is the revolution. This is the time when some of these companies like Panasonic and Olympus that make these small little micro four thirds and these small sensors that say it's good enough, that are no longer going to be seen as good enough. The bar is simply now going to be raised. And there is definitely some fodder in this show to kind of give evidence to that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this really was a game changer announcement for the mirrorless technology. I mean, it's gotten a lot of people really excited. A lot of as you said, all the other shows and the blogs and all this stuff. I mean, everybody seems really excited about this. Now, they're not excited about the price tag, being a $9,000 camera. But we've discussed that before. You kind of get what you pay for, right? I mean, this is high-end equipment, medium format.
Sure.
But even with that, the concept of this medium format that's not only does amazing photos, but it also does video. It's got all of the creature comforts that we've grown to expect in modern cameras built into this. They really they step forward in time with their equipment rather than kind of just more of the same or a lateral move, or in some cases, some of these companies step backwards with their technology, which just blows my mind.
And after the show, I did, I think it was vlog number 8, which I usually do after the shows, and I kind of get things, I kind of put some more flesh on the bones that we just simply don't have time sometimes in these shows to do.
Right.
And I was saying how this camera is just ticking right down, putting those check marks in the boxes on just everything. It's really doing a good job. And for me, I look at this as beta. It's the beginning of something. It's that, like I said, that revolution, that start. So it's very, very exciting. And one of the guys that was speaking about it on the vlog actually moved over to our show and was asking a question and talking about it also, right?
Yeah. Jean-Michel was definitely commenting with us. He's very, very excited about the X1D. He comes from the Fuji X Pro 1 and Nikon D800 camp.
Right.
So he's got both cameras. He loves them both for what they are. And when he heard about this camera, it just like blew his mind. You know, he's like really, really excited about it. Definitely wants to get one. But, you know, has a really good question. And he's asking, you know, can you shoot fashion or wedding at ISO 100 being handheld with this camera without getting the blur? You know, and again, because, you know, you don't necessarily want to be mounted on a tripod if you're, you know, shooting a wedding or an event or something like that. You want to be mobile, but you want to be able to set that ISO to get the best quality picture you can. And can you do it without getting the blur? So that's his question.
Yeah. So I would have to say, you know, you're in luck. For two reasons. Number one, the lenses that are currently available to two lenses. Now you can use the other H system lenses on there also with adapter and whatnot. But the two lenses that are available, which is a 90 and a 45, one is they're both in the 3s. So one shoots at straight f3.2 and the other one is f3.5. That's a ton of light, especially for medium format. That is an absolute ton of light. The depth of field on those lenses would be just butter. On medium format, they'd be just amazing. Each lens is about $2,500 to $3,000. They're not cheap. But the thing is if you're going to go and move into a wedding type of situation, like you were saying, most of the time you have just terrible lighting, right? So in this case, you have two options. Number one, you can shoot this camera, I'm going to say probably right around 1600 without a problem, because it does have a maximum ISO of about 25,600. So 1600 is probably going to be a good sweet spot, I bet. I haven't seen any pictures yet, so this is speculation. I think once you hit 3200 to 6400, I think you're going to start getting some noise. But 1600 I think is a good number. If you shot it at 1600 at f, let's say 3.2, you should be able to have no problem shooting at, let's say, 100th of a second, 125th of a second, and be able to get a non-blurry shot handheld. Obviously, it has to do with breathing. There's a lot of different things that you can do to make these things not be blurry. Even going down, I can shoot down to about a 30th of a second without it being blurry, because I've been doing it for 20 years. But anyways, so that wouldn't be a problem. The other thing that's really good for you is that Hasselblad decided to, instead of reinventing the wheel and incorporating their own flash system, their own triggering system, let's say, they are incorporating all Nikon, SB flashes. So you can go and take your flash that you're currently using for your D800 and slap that right on to that Hassi. And I'm going to guess it's probably going to also take any of your triggers that you currently have for your Nikon set, your lighting setup.
Right.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's what you said. You know, when doing a wedding or an event and you go inside these facilities and stuff, the lighting is not great. So to try and shoot, you know, not using some form of controlled lighting, you know, may not be a great idea anyway. Using available light, you know, if it's got a very yellow or a green tint, I mean, you know, sure, you could always fix it in post or try and white balance up front and what have you. But having more control over your lighting, utilizing flash is probably a safer bet anyway.
Right.
And in that case, I mean, then you've got a lot more flexibility for shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind also, as of today, there are no zoom lenses available for this camera. And we're going to get into that a little bit in a few minutes also. But being that your zoom will be your feet and you'll be having to move around that wedding a lot, just keep that, bear that in mind. You know, I would also recommend that even if you don't want to shoot, let's say, a tripod setup and you want a handhold, using just a nice stick, right, for doing so, just a single monopod, as I call it, my stick, my beater, you know, is just an amazing thing, because you can literally now shoot, for me, you know, down to a 1/6 of a second, a 10th, you know, without even a question, just because you don't end up having that roll, because it is on that sturdy stick, on that monopod. And I use, for example, I use a lot of like carbon fiber stuff, even some aluminum. I don't like aluminum, but but lightweight sticks that literally compress down to maybe 1.5 feet. So when you're not using it, you can have it attached to the camera, just zip that thing out just in a second, and now you can get that perfect quote unquote handheld shot, not even having a flash. Now, obviously some wedding situations you can't have a flash because they just don't allow it. So having this ability is definitely good. So there's some other things that we're going to talk about when it comes to the Hassi as well, but we'll be doing that in just a second, right?
Right. Let's take a quick break.
All right, we'll be right back. The 3-in-1 photo reference tool featuring the revolutionary dual access color control is a versatile all-in-one color reference accessory designed to help photographer and videographer dial in white balance, exposure, and color temperature. The PRT features a large gray card with center target, making autofocus lockup easy while providing fast temperature neutralization in camera or in post-production. A 12-step exposure gradient helps produce perfect tonal reproduction, balancing highlights with deep, rich blacks. Most photographers color balance by eye, using the temperature slider to warm or cool an image. This method delivers inconsistent and inaccurate results. The backside of the PRT features our dual-access color control system, which addresses this problem. With a single click, this system will automatically adjust color temperature and apply color tint to produce optimal and repeatable results for beautiful photos every time. From in-camera to post-production, the 3-in-1 photo reference tool helps push your creativity to the next level, providing complete color control over all your imaging creations. Grab one from your local or online camera dealer or visit our website at jcristina.com.
All right, we're back. And Joe, you teased about the Hasselblad not having zoom lenses. And that was kind of all over the media last week with this announcement that, they were saying that, to create a zoom lens for medium format in this compact size is nearly impossible. And it was out in their social media and everybody's reporting on it saying no zooms.
Right.
And,
blowback.
It's kind of funny.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I guess a lot of people were kind of up in arms about that, saying, we really want zooms with this. What are you doing? This camera, you're wanting us to spend all this money, $2,500 per lens here, and have all these different millimeter lenses, but no zooms,
Right.
And honestly, sometimes you just can't be switching lenses. You want to be able to have that zoom.
Yeah. So, I listen, guys, to a lot of periscoping, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. When something is going on and I'm not able to be there, I want to get not the everyday coverage, what everything is circulating out through press like ourselves. I want to see what people are actually talking about. So I'll get into people's, let's say, periscope that's going to be there and see what they're talking about. And I know I was listening to one periscope, I believe it was a periscope, it might have been something else, but I think it was periscope, where they were talking to one of the guys from overseas and they were talking about the actual camera, and he was saying, there's no zoom, and zoom is not an intention. It's not kind of in the short range. And we were going to look at what people's use would be, or how is it going to be something that we should really put time and effort into to actually create. And I think it's funny, here there must have been so much blowback from the photographic community saying, hold on, I'm paying $8,000. I want to be able to buy a zoom. Wait.
Yeah,
so,
what's up with this?
Yeah, so Hassi ended up coming back saying, oh, wait, that was a gaffe or something. That's not exactly how it's going on. We are going to be producing more lenses, and some of which will be zoom lenses. So I love that. That was really, that's good for them. But this is what happens. They don't know how big it'll be until it bees.
Exactly.
Once it's released,
until it gets out there.
Exactly. Once it's released and it's in the general populace, are people excited about it? Do they care? Do they not care at all? So here, obviously, just by the amount of coverage that this has received, and as I said in our first show, just when it was coming in after hours, this is the revolution. This is really something amazing. And like I said, there is more fodder to that in today's show. And kind of moving kind of into it, Fuji made an announcement, just recently too.
Well,
right?
Fuji Rumors made an announcement. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, they're saying Fuji Rumors is reporting that Fuji will be announcing a medium format mirrorless at Photokina this year, and that it will be shipping in 2017. Fuji was kind of asked about this even as early as January of this year, whether they'd be going in that direction, and they're like, no, we're not going to be doing that. And now, we're kind of getting the rumors now. So, I mean, Fuji rumors, Nikon rumors, Canon rumors, those websites all, that's what they are. It's all rumors, but, they do have their sources. Yeah. So, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Right. But if you look at what's transpiring right now within the industry, you've got the announcement with Hasselblad. We know from previous reports that Canon is looking to really put some resources into mirrorless in 2016. Right. They've never really dove into the medium format anyway. Doubt that they'll do that here with whatever they're going to announce. I'm surprised about Fuji, but I think what would make more sense out of all of this is that we see something from Sony coming in.
I do agree. As far as with Fuji and it being rumors and why I believe it to probably be the case. Number one, Photokina is right around the corner, guys.
September.
And if there's even a inkling that says that we're going to be releasing or something's going to be coming out on medium format type size, I'm going to say that, reading the tea leaves, that's what we do on the show, is try to make predictions based on what's going on, based on, 20 years of experience. Right. Going back to John Michel, right? He was saying also that he was very excited when he got that D800, and he was very excited also when he ended up picking up a Fuji X Pro 1. What's interesting here is Fuji's already done, that moving into the mirrorless and doing it well. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. Then of course Sony ate their lunch, but that's besides the point. Yeah. They've been doing APS-C mirrorless for quite some time and doing a good job of it. So for them to jump on board and go straight to medium instead of full frame is definitely a possibility. They can do it without a problem. Can. Especially we've had many interviews with Fuji reps and some of the upper end echelons. Yep. And they are a astute bunch. I mean, they are really about the photographer and marketing. I think
they get it. Yeah.
They get it.
I think Fuji definitely gets it. Yeah. I think more so than some of the other manufacturers out there with their smaller sensors and really boasting their 4K and all of this stuff. Yeah. I mean, that is phenomenal technology as well, but I know we talk about this all the time, and I hate to beat a dead horse here, but there is no substitution for a larger sensor. Right. I mean, that's just the facts. I mean, I remember as a kid, my dad and I are into cars, and he always says, we joke about the little Hondas with the turbochargers in them and all this stuff, and he says, yeah, but nothing beats a big block. Yeah. And you know what? You're absolutely right, because you can soup that big block up too, and that really is the case. When you're working with a medium format sensor, I mean, you get so much more.
Yeah, you just
There's
get a ton.
No comparison.
It gives you the ability to throw stuff away instead of just making stuff work as you would on a Micro Four Third or even some of the smaller APS-Cs. So, seeing that, Sony is one of the companies that, Fuji's saying, possibly Photokina, right? Now, I predicted on the last show, Sony will come out with, let's say, an A8 that's going to be medium format, and it won't be that long. It'll be in short order, I guarantee you. Now, why do I say that? Well, one of the reasons is the sensor that is in this Hasselblad, the X1D, is actually a Sony sensor.
Right, so, that's what we heard.
Right, yep. So knowing this and understanding that this is the case, and it was specifically designed for that new camera, that means that Sony has been working on this behind the scenes for them for the last year, let's say, or 6 months. So they know that Hassi wants to release this. Damn Skippy, that they're working on the exact same thing for their line. And knowing how Sony has just been just just eating everyone's lunch in the last, let's say,
kind of crushing it.
Just
in this
crushing
space.
it in the last 6 months to a year. I would definitely say that Sony is right around the corner for doing the same thing. So now we're seeing Hasselblad. We're going to see, I'm going to say almost guaranteed, Sony for sure. We're going to see possibly Fuji going that route also. So what this means is folks that want to get into medium format will be able to do it, medium format mirrorless, because that price is going to go lower and lower and lower. And I will say probably by this time next year, you'll be able to get into medium format mirrorless, right, from one of these companies, probably at that $4,000 range that I predicted last week.
Right.
I really feel that to be the case. Now, bear in mind, we now also, they're talking about Sigma as a new camera that is coming down the pipe, right? And
so Sigma announced this SD Quattro mirrorless camera.
Right.
Which in theory sounds great. I mean, a 29 megapixel APS-C, the Foveon sensor, it's a CMOS sensor. And we've talked about the Foveon in the past, and there's lots of really, cool benefits to that style of sensor.
Right.
There's a lot of really nice features with this camera, but then we dive into, starting to look at it a little bit deeper, and it really is a photo camera. It's not a hybrid camera.
Right.
All of the stuff that's coming out today is hybrid. Right.
So,
and it's almost like if you're not doing hybrid, if you don't have wireless, if you don't have video, if you don't have, GPS or whatever else built into these things, you're not taking advantage of all the technologies available.
Right.
So this is only an $800 camera. So I would view it as more of that entry level mirrorless camera, as opposed to a higher end professional multi-use video camera.
No,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing when you look at the specs.
Yeah, so in comparison to our cameras that most of us use that are CMOS cameras, the Foveon sensor, the way it works is it does layering. It does layers of light. So for example, if let's say you have a 39 megapixel equivalent Foveon, usually if you cut that in half, it's not really, the math doesn't work just like that. It ends up being about, let's say, a 17, 18 megapixel camera, quote unquote. But you're taking light, and instead of smashing all onto one CMOS sensor, which is now twisting pixels around, so you have your RGB on the pixel, you're having actual layers, and it's reading the light on each individual layer.
Right.
So Foveon produces, to me, using it, the most amazing freaking color. I mean, if you are if you are a food photographer, or if you're just a photographer in general, that color is absolutely mission critical.
Yep.
Foveon just does an amazing job. It's had in the past problems with noise. It's had some issues, right? But Foveon is just an amazing, amazing technology. I really, really like it. I'm really surprised that a lot of camera companies haven't went down that specific route or that road of sensors. But they have two different versions that are coming out. One is just a standard Quattro, and one is a Quattro H. The standard Quattro is an APS-C sensor, and the H is an APS-H sensor, which is bigger. So instead of 39 megapixels, I think the H is like 51 megapixels or something like that, Trev. So it's a ton of megapixels. I mean, it's nice, but like you said, where it falls on its face and it falls short and feels 10 years old is where it doesn't have video. I mean, no one is going to
even
buy
just standard HD, even if you're not hitting the 4K end of it, that really is what. I mean, that's what people want. They don't want two cameras. If they're going to have something other than a smartphone in their pocket that they're shooting pictures or video with, if they're going to have that dedicated device, I mean, people really like the idea of having this hybrid camera where you can do both. And this doesn't offer it.
No, it just doesn't. So I don't know what's going to end up happening with that. I just, I kind of feel bad for Sigma, because I've always wanted to root them on and say, come on, Sigma, just do it. I love this Foveon sensor. It's really good technology. Do it. And then they come up with a camera, and then once again, it just doesn't make sense, because for the same
Right.
money, they could have just done something with video. Even if you put in 30 frames per second video instead of 60, which is now what people are looking for, even if you did
60 is like the big thing.
even if you did 30 and you did 1080p instead of doing 4K, and you just, whatever it is, but just the basics, right? Sigma, just get it together. I mean, this, I don't think would have been rocket science to be able to put video into this thing. Obviously it's just a different set, a different engine, a different, methodology of using the Foveon in comparison to, maybe it's an algorithmic thing, maybe it's a speed thing to be able to capture that. I really don't know. But either which way, personally, I think you should have figured it out. That's just my
I think
opinion.
there's other mirrorless alternatives at this point.
Yeah.
But on the heels of the camera announcement, they had a few other things, a couple flashes, a power grip for this camera. So they got a kit lens with a kit with a new lens for it. So I think they're trying. I know a lot of people like the Sigma lenses for their Nikons or Canons or what have you. And that's even an area that we talked to them about years ago. And I really haven't looked into them much since. But, from a professional standpoint, they were even falling short with the service on these high-end lenses that photographers are supposedly using for professional purposes.
Right.
And that really just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for Sigma in general.
Yeah.
Just saying, it just doesn't feel like it's where it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I guess we'll end up seeing what happens with all this. I'm really, really excited about this whole mirrorless medium format, as I guess you guys probably can tell. But we need to get out of here. We do need to thank Jean-Michael for not only his fantastic question, but also going over to iTunes and giving us that 5-star rating. Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate it. And everyone else out there, if you have not went over to iTunes and listened to the show, in your car, in a workout or whatever, please do so and give us that rating, either the 5-star rating or type in a little something, what you think about the show, you hate us or you love us or whatever the case might be. It's always good to be able to kind of hear your input, and it allows us to get better at our craft, at what we do, and offer you more of what you're looking for.
Absolutely. And if you're watching us on YouTube through the video, whether on any of your devices now, that's why we went YouTube, so you can get it anywhere. If you enjoy the show, big thumbs up would be appreciated. Hit that like button, and definitely leave a comment. YouTube is kind of the place that we're using right now to field public comments, other than obviously if you shoot us an email through the website or something like that. And of course, connecting with us on Twitter, right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can find me over at Twitter. That's at Joseph Cristina, and that's Cristina, of course, with no H.
Yes, and I'm on Twitter at Trevor Curran.
So, all right, everyone, we are out of here for yet another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com. And as Trevor said, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe. And comment below. Comment. Join the conversation. So that's it, guys.
Right.
We will see you on the next episode next week. Take care.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Curran and Joseph Cristina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your hosts.